Welcome. In this video, I'm going to share with you a little bit about the empath and their role in the archetypal drama triangle. Let's go. So in this video, I'm going to start with a little bit of a review of the drama triangle. Then I'm going to also get into a little bit of an overview about the empath and their characteristics. I'll get into the empath's role typically on the drama triangle and how they get hooked into the drama triangle. I'll share a little bit about my story and how I learned all of this myself from firsthand experience. And then finally, I'll share with you the solution. If you find yourself being the empath that ends up in the drama triangle, how to get out of it. Let's go. First, a little bit of a review of the drama triangle. If you've never heard of it before, it's essentially the three faces of victimhood. So the entire drama triangle, even though there are three roles, victim, villain, and hero, all three roles are actually different faces of the victim. And that's why typically the drama triangle is depicted as an upside down triangle with the victim role being at the bottom. And now the victim role at the bottom is because each of the two upper roles, which are called the one-up positions, the hero and the villain, those are both one-up positions, but eventually everyone falls down, everyone drops into that victim role. And one of the characteristics of the drama triangle is that people swap roles all the time. So what does this look like in real life rather than just theoretically speaking? You know you're in the drama triangle when you have a conflict that doesn't seem to get resolved, when you have a persistent complaint with somebody in your life. The drama triangle does not talk about an actual situation where, let's say there's a crime and there's a victim and somebody shoots somebody. That's not what we're talking about. The drama triangle is when we get hooked into a drama dynamic with someone when there's actually not a situation like that occurring, even though it can feel like someone is attacking us or someone needs to be rescued. Let's go over the three positions on the drama triangle, starting with the down position, the victim. So when someone or when you are in the victim position, it's where you feel like you have no power. You are at the mercy of circumstances, of other people, of whatever's going on in the world. And you don't have the ability to choose. And so when we're in the victim position, what often happens is we blame someone else. We look outwards and we say, well, this is the reason, or you are the reason that I feel this way or that this is happening to me, right? And to me is a very telling type of language. Why are you doing this to me? Or you make me feel this way, or you make me do these things. This is classic victim language because that person is putting the power outside of themselves. So when we're in the victim role, we have no power. We look outside of ourselves for someone or something to blame, and that thing or person is the villain. Now, the villain is in the one-up position on one of the legs of the triangle because the perception is that that person has more power than the victim. Actually, they don't in reality, but the perception is that there's more power in that villain role because the villain acts upon the victim and the victim feels victimized by the villain. There's a sense that there's more energy, more power in that villain role. And then the counterpart to the villain role is the hero role. And the hero is the rescuer, is the savior, is the one that swoops in and saves the victim. And like the villain, the hero has the perception of more power in this dynamic. So the thing about the victim triangle or the drama triangle is when we're hooked into it, chances are we start to swap roles on the victim triangle. So if you can imagine a husband and a wife getting into a fight. Husband gets home late at night. He's been out. Wife doesn't know where he is. And she's like, where have you been all night? You made me worry. Right? So right there, she's victim position. And let's say he goes into the villain position and he attacks. He's like, well, if you made a better dinner around here, if you knew how to treat me right, then I wouldn't have to be out with my friends. So now he's in the villain role, but notice he said, then I wouldn't have to be out with my friends. So just by saying that, now he's dropped down into the victim role. He's saying, you forced me to do this. It's your fault. So now she's the victim. So she might lash back out and go into the villain role. And then maybe he'll come in and say, you know what, honey, I'm so sorry. Here's some flowers I brought you that because I was thinking about you and I love you so much. Now he's become the hero, right? He's swooped in and he's saved the day and he's changed the whole situation. So this is how the victim, hero, villain dynamic ends up getting all wonky and how we start to switch roles. So let's talk about what an empath is and how the empath typically gets hooked into the drama triangle. Now, an empath is someone who tends to be very open and empathetic, someone who can feel for others, feels other people's pain, other people's burdens. And because of that, empaths can often get taken advantage of. So very often what I've witnessed, because this is my own story, this is my own situation, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a minute, empaths tend to get hooked into the drama triangle as the hero. They want to save people. They want to help people. They want to do good, right? There's someone who feels another person's pain and wants to do something about it, which seems like a very loving and lofty way to be, right? The challenge with that, and the reason that it ends up being part of the drama triangle, and it's not an empowering dynamic, is because the hero often disempowers the victim. When an empath swoops in and saves the day, that person that they saved doesn't have the intention or the incentive to rise up and claim their own power. And so often what happens with a hero dynamic with the empath is that it's actually disempowering for the people that they help. And what ends up happening, remember we talked about swapping roles on the triangle, when the empath does that and swoops in and saves the day, often because someone is in a victim role, they will ask for more. They will request more and more and more. And what will ultimately happen often is that the empath ends up feeling taken advantage of, feeling unappreciated, and getting into taking on the victim role. Or let's say that they feel unappreciated and taken advantage of, and then they move into the villain role. And they decide, well, I'm going to set some boundaries, right? And the victim doesn't like it when the hero sets boundaries because that takes away their ability to be codependent on them. And so this dynamic plays out a lot with people thinking that they're doing something good for people. This empathetic nature leading them to help is actually furthering and fueling the drama triangle. By the way, let me take a little break right here to just say, if you're liking this video, please comment below, like the video, subscribe to this channel so that you get alerts every time I drop a new video, which is pretty much almost every single day. So I personally experienced this dynamic for years. In fact, my whole business was actually built around this dynamic. So if you're a coach or a consultant, you might relate to this, or maybe not. But in my case, when I started coaching, I began from that empath perspective. I would get often hooked into the drama triangle as the hero to save my clients. And the way that that worked is from the very beginning of our relationship, even from my marketing was geared towards identifying people that were struggling, in pain, having a really hard time, because that's what you're taught to do with marketing. And so I would get these clients that needed me, and that was great for me. That was great for my ego. It was great for my hero complex, but it wasn't great for our long-term results. And the reason for that is, as a coach, as a consultant, the best thing that you can do, the best thing that we can do is to empower our clients, to help them find the answers inside of themselves. But instead, I always felt like I had to give them the answers. So I was always taking on that hero role and then always being available. And then the clients learned to just reach out to me whenever they needed anything. They became very dependent. And as a result, I started to resent and resist my own clients. And we got into this drama triangle where then I would set a boundary and I would be perceived as the villain. Well, why didn't you help me do this thing? That's why I pay you. The solution that I discovered and the solution that I present to you here is to shift from the drama triangle into an empowered dynamic. Now, I didn't come up with this. The empowerment dynamic, TED, is the acronym for the alternative to the drama triangle. You can Google it, you can learn more about it online. And I'll just tell you really quickly that what it is it's shifting these three roles. So the first role, you shift from being the victim to taking on the role of creator. When you take on the role of creator, you move away from I can't, I need help, I'm struggling, to I take my power back. I am the leader of my life. I am responsible for me, and I will create my reality. So that's step one of moving into a more empowered dynamic. The second role, the villain, if the villain, the alternative to the villain becomes the challenger. The challenger is the person that creates a challenge, that creates an obstacle, that creates pressure, that creates some sort of resistance so that the creator can rise up. And then finally, the hero, instead of being the hero, which is disempowering, the hero becomes the guide. I think of the hero as Yoda, right? Yoda doesn't actually get up and fight Luke's battles for him. Yoga helps Luke find the power that's already inside him. He helps him activate his own inner hero. And so that's really what I consider the role of a coach, of a consultant, of a mentor, is to be that Yoda, to be that guide, to be a mentor, but not to be the hero swooping in and saving the day, and by doing so, disempowering the victim. If you're a coach, a consultant, or some other type of guide, and you're looking for support to get to that next level of your business, and you're looking for someone who both operates on the business side and on the personal development side, let's connect. You can book time with me on my calendar by visiting superstardiscoverycall.com.